There's no Blockbuster. If I hear one more person say, I want to get the travel records of the Black Book, but we don't care. That Ethel Kennedy was on the travel records. It doesn't matter. The questions I tell you all the time is who killed him and what agency did he work for? That's it. That's the only question there is. Everything else is, and you could also think, I mean, this is a pipe dream. Where are the tapes and the recordings? Now, going back to what I said, being redundant again and repeating myself to the point of exhaustion. If I was Pam Bondi, I would go in front of the world and say, I am sending over a special agent, whatever, to Australia, and I'm sure they're going to cooperate with us, unless Trump or somebody's picking up the phone and they're saying, don't do this. This is something that we don't know. Who knows? My counter myself is, why now? Why is she even, or why was she allowed this long? Number two, when do the official records of the autopsy, normally these things in our country become a matter of public record, especially, there's a certain amount of time. And I hope they haven't cremated her. That's a nice way to get rid of things really quick. I don't know what the story of this is. Who takes care of the kids? Was there a guardianship? I mean, what's the status? We still don't know who owns Epstein's property. We don't know anything. I would just love to do a show where I tell everybody, here's what we do not know. Anybody want to answer this? Anybody want to answer this? Why now? She could have been dispatched years ago. Again, it would have been no problem. Why is there a problem now?
Can I read you what Dershowitz wrote then? So Dershowitz, he was suing her for defamation, wasn't he? He was denying everything. And let me just see if I can make this bigger. Control plus. There we go. All right. So an interview with ABC had to be postponed because her husband, Virginia Roberts' husband, had beaten her up so badly that she was hospitalized and that she could not appear on television with the bruises because she didn't want to have to explain that her husband had beaten her up. And I ultimately corroborated that information as well by investigating the fact that she, in fact, filed a complaint against her husband and had been hospitalized. So everything that Rebecca told me has proved to be absolutely true and absolutely corroborated. And therefore, I believe it and believe that your clients were engaged in what I believe is an extortion plot against Leslie Wexner, conspiracy to commit extortion, in which I was a victim, as well as Leslie Wexner of being a victim. So they are the words.
And where is this from? Where is this from?
Defamation lawsuit against Virginia when it was all kicking off. When
no, but I'm saying this document itself. This is the actual deposition, or this was a statement, or.
I'm not sure what the title of the document is, but someone provided this to me yesterday.
But it looks like it's time stamped. It looks like almost like a deposition. It's almost okay. Well, okay, fine. So the question of this remains: what do we know now? Nothing. Nothing. We don't know anything. I mean, and you can guess all day long, but unless I get to see, tell me what the scene was. Tell me what she looked like. Do you have a legitimate forensic investigator there who can look at her and check for obvious? I mean, to see somebody in action, depending upon the state of the body, the state of rigor. We had a guy one time years ago. He would come in and I don't want to go into detail, but he would take arms and squeeze right around where you would have IVs. He would squeeze to find a drop of blood. I think they found that in the Belushi case. They would do things. They were very interested at first in body temperature. Body temperature is one of the most important things. I'm not saying in this case, but this one fellow years ago had what amounted to a meat thermometer that he could immediately go internally and look at the viscera and to see what the temperature was, because you've got to find out what the time of death was. You have to look at stomach contents. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of ways to do it, because that is important. And that will then tell you to back up to say, well, who saw her last? What was her condition? How long was it before someone saw her last? Tell me what she said right before her demise. Give me her phone. Did she text anybody? Did anybody speak with her? What was she saying? Despite what people say, it is very uncommon for people not to at least show, in the case of self-harm, something along the line. Depression, but also things like anhedonia, where you lose interest in family, things that you normally like to do, watch TV or go to the movies. You don't have any interest anymore in this. There is so much I want to know. And
that's her last known photo on the screen with her brothers, which was supposedly taken recently.
Now, again, I don't know. They would be the ones I want to talk to. And if I were there, the first thing I think that an FBI agent would probably be met, and I'm interested to see what kind of a pushback would I get from the Australian authorities. Because remember, there's always a jurisdictional thing. There's always a turf battle. People know. It's like, how dare you, big, the American think you know how to do everything. Well, we're not a bunch of backwaters. We're not crocodile today. Ay, crikey. We don't need you to come here. Well, what have you done? Would you share this? Because we, believe it or not, the United States she theoretically could be a potential witness in one of our cases. So I want you to share, give me what you have on her. Let me see the result. And then I'm going to have my independent person look at this. And the first thing is, show me the tox report. Now, I told you one scenario that, again, if I tell you something, Shaun, remember, I'm not going to tell you I know something. I'm going to tell you, this wouldn't surprise me, or this is where I would look. But what if I told you?
Let's have a code word for that drug, like F, the F drug that kills. It's a lot more powerful than the brown drug.
I got so many goddamn codes with this show. I got to do these codes and the files of the F and the self-harm and the unlive. My, I do a talk radio show on the number one market, WABC, 50,000 watt monster. We don't have code words. All you got to do is say, don't say the F-bomb. You can say anything you want. Isn't that something? Supposedly AM radio, which is so archaic, I can say anything. No algorithms, nothing. Say it. This is the biggest con. Oh, we live in this freedom. Okay. Anyway. The thing about the F, the real F-bomb, people use the term overdose. It's not overdose. It's poison. Can I say that? The P word. It's poison.
Yes, yeah.
And if it were to happen, if somebody says, well, goodbye, cruel world, or she was taking something because of self-medicating as an analgesic for her neck, or whatever it is, oh, well, it happens to the best of them. There's so many ways out. But here's the bottom line. I want everybody to listen to me. This is the most important. If nobody cares, nothing will come of this. I'm going to tell you a bit of an anecdote. Years ago, I represented someone who, in essence, was responsible for dispatching her husband. And the story was, I don't want to go too much into detail, but whatever. They were not exactly upstanding members of society. When I asked her, I said, were you arrested? She said, no. What do you mean, no? Were you charged? No. So when I talked to the police, the detective I knew, he told me misdemeanor murder. Can I say that? I said, what's that? He said, that's where you say, Now, believe me, I know there are people out there where they don't. If you find some vagrant on the street, do you think they're going to impanel a grand? Oh, no. They say, oh, well, you know what? What are you going to do? I'll get to that later. We have a big. Some people, they don't care about this. But the moral of the story is, if nobody's looking, nobody finds out answers. And nobody will. And this country, especially America, has the attention span of a gnat. They're going to forget everything. They don't care about anything. It's like 3 days of this stuff, and that's it. Do you know how many people, after we went through that C word, remember that? During that, where the mask holes, you would think this country said, well, by God, we got to get to the bottom of that. Nothing. Bobby Kennedy's talking about red dye number 3 in Fruit Loops. Wait a minute. What about such and such? You told me you were going to. Oh, well, no. I said, wait a minute. Wait. And I'm saying, hey, remember when Bobby Kennedy? Yeah. I said, no. Don't you remember? And he was going to go in there and now they're making the connection between that A disease and what about that? What about that? And no, he forgot about that. He's talking about red dye number 3 and peanut butter I said, wait a minute. I don't care about peanut allergies. You see what's happening? Nobody, it never goes anywhere. Look at the nonsense, to give you an example, of the Russian-Ukrainian military action. It's just such nonsense. Nobody even understands. So sometimes I think that imagine if we have a mystery like Agatha Christie, and people don't even bother reading the end of the story. They just lose interest. They say, well, don't you want to find out? No. But you've devoted this much time. Yeah, I know, I'm busy. No, you're this much. I don't understand it. So people are going to be, but they love to talk about. And I don't know about you, and I know you got some great. Oh yes, pharmacide. Yes.
Let me read you the definition of pharmacide to see if this is where we are arriving with our theory here. So, the pharmacide definition: the act of unaliving someone through prescription medication, specifically through its overuse or misuse by innocent patients. Because they were increasing the stress on her, which would have probably made her want to do more meds.
They're increasing the story, not that they're increasing the storyline.
Shouldn't they have been analyzing the effects on her internals, including her kidneys and?
Yes. Do you? Let me give you an example of something. Again, people are saying, is he going off on one of his tangents? Yes, it's called an analogy. You know about Marilyn Monroe, right? Okay, Marilyn Monroe was supposedly, goodbye, cruel world. They had the amount, her blood work showed a barbiturate level that was like through the roof. And they had empty pill bottle. They found no undissolved pills in her system, in her stomach, none. And her nurse or her housekeeper said, pills, she couldn't swallow one. There's no way. Anyway, they believe they got her through using what amounts to a suppository version of this. All right. So they got her. There was a woman named Dorothy Kilgallen. She was about to release the information on John F. Kennedy. She was a famous investigative reporter. She was on game shows. And she was going to not only bring up the Jack Ruby thing, but the Dallas police, LBJ, everything. They found her in her New York apartment, propped up in a room she never uses, like made up. And she supposedly offed herself drinking. She didn't drink. I mean, it was so bad, but nobody cared. Remember the case of Kid Twist Relics at the Half Moon Lodge? This was Murder Incorporated, where they put him up. They put him in this room in Brooklyn. This was during the days of Albert Anastasia, Murder Incorporated. They found him. They had the police outside. They found him. They threw him. He dove out. I mean, how he did it, and they found him. Oh well, with the police outside, and the headline was, "This canary can't fly." Okay, the bottom line is simply this. Nobody cares. We had something the other day in this country where we had the JFK files, and we had a bunch of dingbat congressmen who couldn't know the difference between Oliver Stone and Roger Stone. So what I'm doing is I'm wallowing in the sea of incompetence, and unless somebody says, "Oh, we're not going to stop," this is we're not going to stop until we get to the bottom of this. We don't get this. We don't get this. We never. If I can't interest you, where you? I think you were old enough to remember. Obviously, the OJ case. People couldn't sleep. That's all they talked about. This was true. I mean, they were investigators. People would go into bars in New York and say, "Hey, can you turn off the Knicks game? Can you put on the blood?" Would argue blood splatter. They were into it.
When he was on the freeway, that was the big one, wasn't it?
It was a Friday. It was a Friday night. It was the slow speed chase, one of the greatest oxymorons of all time. The bottom line is that they people were just, she's not there. We have too much information. I think it's either the 5G, this and that, maybe the medication, maybe that red dye number 5, whatever this stuff is. There's no interest in it. And when I keep, and not only that, I want people to go and I want to teach them rudimentary police work. Stop talking about this stupid black book. It's irrelevant. Or the client list. It's irrelevant. That's not what you need. That's not relevant. That's not what I want. I want to know who cares. Hey, Ethel Kennedy. I mean, Ethel Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy's mother, Robert Kennedy's wife was there. Hello. I mean, people don't get, going back to the OJ thing. You mentioned that. When OJ was in the slow speed chase, people would call me. I was on, interestingly enough, WABC at the time, and they would say, maybe Al Cowlings did it. What? Maybe his son Justin did it. What? They just threw names out there without thinking. This doesn't make any sense. So I just assume people have rudimentary connection abilities to say critical thinking. This is important. This is irrelevant. This doesn't matter. Why now? And I have given up on why does, if I worked for you, if I'm the government, and I say, listen, if you want her to go away, believe me, we can do it. It's so easy. It's not even funny. Do you know that let me explain a little background. Do you know how they really get you sometimes? In prisons, there was this thing called the black art of this. Your people are gonna love this. Poisoning, and they call it noose on a bun. If I control your food intake, I can introduce you to little precursors, not adjuvants, but like binary. I can set you up with something, then all of a sudden, later on, I happen to give you something else, and when the two mix, they break down, and the effects are things like potassium levels increase, but there's nothing that's found in there. It's a very, very slow thing. Do you know that when they want to really make sure you don't off yourself and you're in federal prison, they take you to an Air Force base in a particular room, and they have cameras that can pick up body temperature drops. You wear paper. You basically wear paper. There is nothing in there. You could go, there is no sharp object. There are no strings. There's no nothing. The food, believe me. Remember the Godfather, Frankie Five Angels, when not like that. They would have immediately pulled him away. And nobody would have known where he was. Just like with Sammy the Bull. They would take him away and then bring him in. They took him to MCC where everybody knew who he was. And they wanted to, and I'm telling you, and you know him, Tartaglione, they put Epstein in a room with a guy who was facing the death penalty and then all of a sudden didn't. What happened? He got into a beef with Epstein. I thought, these people are so sloppy. You got to bring somebody else in here. You can't have the guy that got into a fight with him, break his neck. They don't care. That's the thing. Either they're incompetent, and I'm not saying he did it, but I guarantee you, in my movie, that's the first one we'd go to. And then you have these incompetent, watch them monitors. Okay, I'm asleep. God knows they probably put something in their drinks, Benadryl or whatever. They're falling asleep. They're surfing the internet, buying stuff. And did you see these? Did you see this crew? Whoa. This is what you've got the most important. It's like having Jack Ruby or Lee Harvey Oswald. You've got and you've got these people watching them. I don't know. And of course, you can't say anything because, you can't say anything because if you say something, well, you're a racist. But it's like, are you kidding me? This, and nothing happened to them, by the way. You fell asleep. And the cameras happen to turn off. It's almost like it's like they were sitting around drinking. He says, I got an idea. Let's see how far we can throw this before they say something. Bring in the big guy. Yeah, the guy with the steroids. Put him in there. Have a fight. Nothing yet? Okay, I got a better one. Let's have let's bring in the two idiots working the monitors. That didn't catch their attention. Okay, they fell asleep. That didn't catch their attention. How about the fact that we didn't off him someplace in France or whatever? We brought him here, and the federal that didn't work. Okay, how about if we physically what they suggested he did either with the CPAP cord or whatever, it can't fracture a hyoid bone. You can't do it. The only way you can do it is either strangulation or sometimes in baseball or some kind of sports, somebody's clotheslined or something. I mean, it's because it's a bone, the only bone not connected to anything. It's under the mandible in the back with the thyroid cartilage, all that stuff. They didn't catch on to that. Nothing. Is there anything that we can do to get? No. You could have had somebody, hey, you got that? Me. And they say, oh, it's probably Photoshop, AI. No, I did. You know, it's like for this being such a conspiracy country, nobody believed. What do they have to do? What do they have to do? We're the only country, JFK, where Lee Harvey Oswald said, I'm a patsy. Yeah, right. And Jack Ruby said, well, I wanted to take her because I didn't want Jackie to testify. She's not going to testify. What is this? He's mobbed up. Nobody. They're still guessing. I wonder if, let's have those files. Did you get those files, Shaun? Oh, here's something. Oh, look at this. JD, here's Tippett's dentist. So not only do we have an incurious group of people, we have people